So where is this being?
Thank you very much.
YouTube.
Yeah, but where are we? How is it looking at us?
It's
Oh, the
Where is
camera?
I didn't think you'd be able to.
Over there. It's over there.
Oh,
It's
okay.
up there.
Keep that on top golf. Yeah.
I'm glad you're here, Ron.
High on that.
Ron's here.
Ron's here.
Just to you.
You are Carol.
Thank you, sir.
Me.
My son.
Would you sign my?
Okay, Ben, did you say you wanted the zoning?
And then I'm
guideline
gonna come
draft
see you and ask.
or the-
Bailey sent that on.
That's money or-
Oh, you already sent to her?
If anything, if you could, if we relocated the file that had
No, it was ages ago, but I held.
The ETA on Victoria.
the bonded.
Experience. And I
August.
want to tell you that.
In the Dropbox.
August.
Well, they said.
I just had.
August, she's not getting here till August.
But if
You
it's-
lost that link too.
Yes.
That's what I heard
Looking at
from
that.
friends of hers today. So,
Lucky you.
yeah,
If you had a
Well,
link to that, that would be.
I can.
How's everybody and your family?
I thought
Joe
she was coming here and then we were going to Philadelphia. Now she's gonna go directly to Washington. So we fly over and go up with her.
We're doing college.
I don't,
Of course,
Yeah,
that fun stuff.
so I don't have to
There's a-
drive myself.
Master
Or me.
family here too.
What's,
Well, Dave's here. You see a fancy dancy
okay,
vet through.
Yeah,
That's
I'm gonna
Dave.
check out.
It's a eye
I'll
track.
bring it, I'll bring it over.
Yeah, we can't afford them to get old.
He's old, but not that.
I think Dave would like to hear that.
Uh-huh.
You guys will kind of have to share microphones or the people on YouTube won't be able to hear you.
I was like,
Who caused the meeting to order, Brian? Well, I assume it's a special meeting, so I. sort of wait for-
oh, so I did get a copy.
I
I mean, I have one at home.
No,
and I
that's
didn't.
mine.
Okay, well, we'll share it. I
I
didn't,
brought mine.
oh,
And
so
she-
you didn't put it there for me. It's just
No, I
taking up
just- it's
space
just-
here. You're trying
I
to.
was finding. getting
All I
this-
brought was this from
This
Sharon's
done.
here,
So.
All right. There you go.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nope. Yeah, good. But Ron's here. So we just have to wait for Ryan Green. Oh, God. Here, you just do it.
And then Cheryl made us copies. So.
Well, that's what I
Yes.
did bring.
And
I'll just mark this here.
A lot of.
Jim, do you have any idea why they marked? I don't know whether it's water, sewer,
Oh, yeah.
gas.
I'm wondering
On, in
too.
front of, all up and down Oregon, in front of her house, the one part of Oregon that's not gonna be done.
Red and green.
Red is.
I mean, no, blue and green.
Blue and green.
Blues water.
Water.
Yes, I knew that one.
What's green?
Yes.
No, I have no idea.
The
They
whole,
did-
the whole street, all the way from Coshocton to Edwards is marked.
It's gonna be-
And that's the one part of the street that's not having anything done to it.
Yeah, they did it up by the bank too. The new, everything that's new on Oregon,
Yeah.
North Oregon has
Everything
been
that's
done.
already been done.
No,
I was like, I hope to heck they didn't get north and south confused and
I saw them on South.
Delaware.
Yeah.
they were-
Yeah.
they were more,
Well,
okay.
they did ours then yesterday.
So
or
this was the
Friday.
marker
is-
guys.
my guess is they might have done it
Well,
in error because they just, someone said, go mark Oregon.
inflation. is
I
really gonna
don't
be
know.
long-term.
I don't know either. I was like,
It happens like.
they better hadn't started
Underground
digging in that
utility.
street. They'll hear me scream. all
They
the
just
way.
kept juggling all their spray cans, pulling this one out and spraying them.
Yeah.
It wasn't village, it wasn't a village.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
Village
it was a
truck.
village? It was our guys?
It was a village truck.
no, I have no
It
idea.
was our guys.
It was our guys.
That one there,
That's what
I
they
would have
would
no
know.
idea.
Because I thought, I wonder what
That's a
this is all
miracle.
about.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Have you had these? Have you had these?
Yeah.
Coming in?
I haven't seen them. I will.
Me too. I'll be right behind you.
Water in that machine out.
Here is, or I can grab you one.
Hey. Hey, how are you? You can sit anywhere, grab your name tag. and
Anywhere you want.
Sit.
Reese.
Yeah,
did you set
Are you not feeling good?
Thank you.
That was Teresa and I.
Table back there.
Oh, this is.
Yeah, I know, I should.
Put our brains together.
I'm
I'm not COVID, but I'm like COVID adjacent. I don't know. Trust it. I'm over here.
I'm gonna sit over.
I'm gonna give Ben a hug before this is over.
There's masks over there.
Yeah, I probably should.
Don't we have a sign that says if you're not vaccinated, you need to wear a mask
Yes.
at the front
Do we?
door?
I don't know.
A lot of places do.
A lot of we do. I don't know if we do.
We did all
But I
that,
mean, if you're
we
sick.
did all that work on the doors. We
Yeah.
didn't put anything else up. After we.
You can put glue it on. The big X.
We have no mass in the service.
Right, right.
Oh,
You're in
God,
charge
I
of
don't
calling the
know.
meeting to order and we're going live.
Sweet.
No.
So the,
All right, thank you.
Is that special planning and zoning?
Oh, here's Sharon.
youth of the village
Yeah,
is getting to
Will
everybody.
you, will you sign my
I
petition?
will.
You're on.
It's like
I've got
a
it.
speed dating.
Pen
I
here.
figured let's do a
Thank you.
call to order. I'll note everybody that's here. We don't need to. Yeah. I think that's what we should do.
All right.
Chip, do you want to call to order or do you want Ryan to call to order?
Ryan, go ahead.
I don't think we're gonna do roll call, just so everybody that's here, because I don't know whether it's a special planning and zoning. I put special planning and zoning joint work session with council.
So we'll jointly call it to order. How's that?
Okay.
Call this to order.
We call to order the special planning and zoning and council meeting Tuesday, July 13th, 2021. We're gonna forego the roll call. Still want to do the pledge. Do that.
We can.
Put it on me.
We will forego the pledge as well. So basically, we'll delve right into the design standards here. I understand that we're gonna go into an airing of the grievances, or I don't know. I don't know how we want
I
to.
don't know how. to
It's-
do this. Whatever's the easiest.
Yeah, let's get your feedback, guys. 'cause
Yeah,
we've been
that's
working on it for a
that's
while.
mostly
Yeah.
where we're at.
This
Is
Okay.
We'd like
we
your
just-
open
yeah.
feedback, and
Cheryl-
we'd like to
Cheryl
hear-
Cheryl's been kind enough to give us.
Feedback.
Okay,
This is
that's from all everybody.
This is, I put it together and I've got everybody's agreement on console.
We've
Okay.
all agreed to these.
We've all agreed to that.
Beautiful.
Doug has a copy too. He's just not here. Sharon's got a copy. I don't know where Sharon is. Anyway,
Somewhere in the friendly
I don't want to go through this whole thing. This is easy. Basically, I believe we are too easy on developers coming in. I would like to see some of the guidelines changed to standards. And what this would do is, one, we will get more of what we want as a village, our vision. It also will let developers know that what our standard is, what we expect. So they don't come in with a plan completely way off base. And then they get mad, they yell at you guys. They get frustrated. If they know right up from the get-go on what our expectations are, then I think everything will be flow a little bit more smoothly. Or they may look at it and say, you know what, I don't want to go to Johnstown. This is not what the type of house I want to build. We'll go someplace else. And just to say, a lot of the builders, they're not like the small time builders that have a lot of pride in the house. I'm just going to use Pulte just because I know that's a national builder. But once you get to a national building, that's a corporation. The quality of the home is not as important. The communities they don't care about because they're a national company. They're going to be a bottom line company. And that's what we're up against. And I mean, almost everybody is up against. Some of the small, like Schlebach, I think they put a really nice product together and I like what they're doing. So that's why I want to see some of our guidelines turn to a standard. So if you don't mind, I'll just read over them. I wrote this up, so
Okay.
I guess I'm on here, folks, if I want to be or not. Just as a reminder to everybody on, at least on console, because planning and zoning, you guys are aware of this. But the difference between standards and guidelines, and of course I talked to Yas about this too. Standards are requirements, guidelines are nice to do, but they don't have to do it. So I just feel as if we're saying, oh, pretty please, will you do this? And yeah, they don't have to, so why would they?
They won't, right?
And they won't. But if it's a standard, that gives us legal standing. Then if they do want to make a change, they have to come to us and ask us, and they have to say, pretty please, can you help us? So we're turning the tables that way. So what I did is on the standards in the document, standards, design review standards and well, you guys know. On page 60, I would like to, and I have, you see, I've got the exact area. I would like to change this guideline to a standard, at least, which is at least 25% of the paved parking service area of each new parking service parking lot should be shaded by mature landscaping with 5 years. We don't put it in, nothing's going to happen. Does anybody have a problem with that?
I think we specifically touched on that, if I remember correctly.
We had a pretty decent conversation, yeah.
Mm,
Talking about it, I think one of the things that we brought up with that piece is some of the difficulty of enforcement. I think we talked about with that one. When you talk about, and Jim Lennon would probably back this up too, Jack, when you have trees shading like parked areas like asphalt and things like that, they tend to break down that asphalt quicker because it holds water and retains moisture and doesn't let it dry up, which is what we see down on like Westview and things like that. And we also didn't, I think the conversation too was around what that would achieve ultimately. Shaded parking area.
It would, okay, what I'm thinking of is say over in Gahanna at the shopping center, Stone Ridge Shopping Center. They've got, you know, like here's all the parking, but in between the parking lot, they have trees and some landscaping, and there's something they just redid. That's what I'm thinking of. It's something like that. I'm not not park looking, but something
Not
that,
streets.
not streets, yeah.
Right.
But something in the parking lot that shows that there's some care, there's some beauty. And some of our newer developments have got that. I mean, but I'd rather have it in the standards. And you may say, hey, it might be hard to control or whatever, but if there's nothing there, they don't have to do it. So
We got into it pretty in depth,
Our
and I
discussion,
think
we started out with, I think if my memory serves correctly, we had to have trees in here, and we thought, we changed it to landscaping. because We thought shrubbery would be better, specifically to your point of not breaking up the asphalt or something like that.
We do have a provision, I think, earlier in this that talks about
Yeah.
the not having, not having a parking lot like Kroger, where it's just an expanse of paved
Right.
space. Where,
mhm,
in all honesty, half of it outside of the day before Thanksgiving is full.
right.
So the idea was just not to have an expansive parking area we have in here where it has to be broken up by islands and things like that.
Mhm.
And so to that end, I mean, I don't have an issue making it a standard if we think we want to stay more strict and dialing it back to their end, like you said. But the idea too is that we had something else in there also to try and break up that idea.
I want to speak up on that. You
Sure
talked
can.
about it tearing the blacktop. And
Gotta use your
dirt and
mic.
stuff.
I'm sorry, we're gonna.
We're on.
Jesse, I don't know if they're hung up right for you,
Sure.
right in the crack. I don't know if there's more slack in there.
Yeah, we'll just share.
There you go.
You talk about planting trees and it tearing up the blacktop. If you plant silver maples, yeah, they're going to tear it up. If you tell them what they have to plant, it won't tear it up. You got the perfect example of that down in Rolling Meadows. They planted the cheapest trees they could plant in there, and it's tearing everything up. You tell them that they have to plant an oak or something that's deep rooted, it won't be tearing it up, at least in our lifetime. And I'm with Cheryl on this. They will do what you tell them that they have to do, and if you don't tell them they have to do it, they won't do anything.
Yeah,
And
no, I
we-
mean, we're for it, and we got really in depth on it in the minutia of how to enforce it, because a lot of this comes down to how to enforce it and how to make sure it's all there. That's why when we got to 25%, we're like, okay, so you're gonna have trees around, at least one side of a four-sided, so we want as many as we can get. And that's why we had that other component with at least landscaping and adding the islands in to break that up as much as possible, just because we don't want a ton of blacktop. is what we-
Well, you make the islands a little bit bigger and tell them to put the trees in.
Yeah, that's what we're
So
saying.
it sounds like we're all on board to move it to.
No,
a
I think we're fine with it.
Do-
Yeah.
Now, in here, on our current, my current version.
And your
60%.
Your enforcement can go down to not giving them an occupancy permit.
Yeah.
So you okay moving it to standard? Is that
Well,
right?
I just want to throw one thing out. So something that's going to affect the village right off the bat is when we pave 42 spaces down at the trailhead. That would come under this, right? There are no trees at the current time. So that would be something we would have to do, correct?
If you
Yeah.
paved,
One tree.
This is passed before you pave it.
you count the trees on the other side of the trailhead,
If this is
Yeah.
in effect, when
you
that.
could
Did you
count
say-
that. That'd be,
There are trees.
It won't be.
There's one at the very
This
end
won't
when
be
you
in effect.
enter.
well, if it's gonna be
Won't be in
paved
effect
up
all
to
the
the
time.
path, the other side of the path is all trees.
Wouldn't we want it to
That would,
look pretty like all
It's
the
not
other
being
ones?
paved all the way up.
Yeah.
Being paved all the way up there.
okay.
No, it's right adjacent to where we have parking currently.
So there's,
You haven't been down there yet?
I've been down there, but I was trying to think where
Within
'cause
our,
if it's
on our
paved up to
land,
the path,
or is
the
that
path
on
has
some?
trees on the other side.
It, right now, the parking lot adjoins the path on that side, and we're
Right.
adding parking on
Where the gravel is.
where the gravel is all gonna be big.
Okay.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Is that going to be
You haven't been
affected?
down there.
by
I've been
this?
down there.
'Cause
I've been down
I
the
don't-
side.
I'm
Now
not
to look at
opposed
Track
to it.
Street and how
I
nasty
think
that is.
it would be nice if we could have some shade on that parking lot.
Because of the way the parking lot is laid out, it did not contact. the adjoining property. There's a strip through there, which would be actually ideal for trees, because the adjoining property is about 2 foot higher than the parking lot. Kind of a bank to throw them apart, but there would be a place there.
We could put ornamental type.
Yeah.
Like
mean,
Yeah,
the-
you couldn't put something with big roots because it would
like the
tear it up.
ones down Coshocton.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's enough room. to
I'm
do
not
that.
against it.
The
I'm
que-
just saying this is going to affect us.
Is there a
with that
list
parking
of
lot.
approved trees?
Well, it would look
in
better
the
if we had some trees.
guidelines?
Yeah, with the
We
tree
refer to
committee,
the
and then we
arbor.
have,
list.
Arbor,
we have the arborist listed
Yeah.
in there. We have the tree committee listed, and then
Gotcha.
we have,
you're covered.
there's this, yeah, there's a
So we
list.
have like
When that changes.
12,000 every year that goes into it, so.
Yeah.
Worst case is there's a list of trees in the buffer zone ordinance that could
There's
be
also a list of
referenced as well.
trees, county.
Yeah.
We have a list of
Okay.
desirable trees.
We do, and we could plant trees in that strip by the parking lot next year for Arbor Day.
Yeah, that'd be neat.
But help me remember that, because I won't.
We will.
We will.
Okay, we got that one crossed off. Yes.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Ready. This is page 62. Okay, this section goes from discussing commercial buildings to houses and design guidelines, number 3, which was a little confusing. So I'm thinking houses here. If you're describing houses, the door style should be used in a manner that emphasizes the front entrance and de-emphasizes the garage and service store. Again, I'm thinking this will resolve issues with developers trying to build this, not houses where you drive down the street and the only thing you see is the garage, the garage, the garage, the garage. I would like to see that change to make it, again, more difficult. It's one of our developers, that's what they had in mind. It's one of those, like apartments or condos, the only thing you see is the garages.
I know we had this discussion. I think this door meant maybe then the front door. I don't have it in front of me, but
Yeah, it was combination of like commercial and houses together on it, which is what makes it very confusing.
I think this is pulled directly from our.
There's a, on here, Cheryl, right around here, garage door and service door should be standard.
yeah, because we don't want the snout
Yeah,
nose housing either.
it says, no, this is, it's under a guideline. It's under decide guideline, so it should be a standard, not a guideline then. It's the way, where it's placed.
Design guide.
Yeah, so see, that's,
Okay, I'm good with that.
What I'll tell you, if you look on, under.
So you're saying add it to section B,
Yeah, we're just.
move it from C to B, correct?
Yes.
We address garages specifically
Yeah,
later
distance
on.
out from- Yeah.
On page 69.
Yeah, I've got that one down here next.
Do you?
It's coming up.
Okay. Just because you mentioned the snout nose, that
Yeah.
was the conversation we specifically had.
Yeah,
Yeah, I knew we had that one.
yes. Because on 69, that's only a guideline. That's not a standard.
So we-
So I was just looking at that. I don't know if it's defined as one or the other. Now that you mentioned it,
Let's
it
get
doesn't say
60 let's get
standard.
62 done before we run.
Okay,
Yeah, let's get 62 out.
We're gonna get me confused, and that's not hard to do.
all right. Can we move that to a standard? Is everybody in agreement?
I don't have a problem with that, yeah.
Okay,
We're changing C to standard, not guidelines. right?
yeah,
Design
so, right.
And I think it'll be reinforced later on too.
The other.
And Bailey, that number 3 can go under number B instead of C.
Okay.
Okay, 65. This one might be, maybe I should go right to 69 and come back to 65.
Okay.
Let's go 69. Garage location designed for residential uses are only guidelines. I gotta
I
go
don't think
there.
it states whether it's one or the other. But
Okay. Doesn't really state one way or the other. It's under buildings and entries, and if you go
It's a
down,
Standard, because all the way, well, no, that's,
no,
no, it's not.
we should list that as a standard though. It just goes right into number 1. C1.
Yeah,
well, these are standards, because if you look in building entries, it has a separate design standard and separate design guidelines. But so garage location and design would all be design standards, right?
With B, vehicular access,
We're
it
gonna,
has intent standard guidelines, and then C.
we're gonna challenge you on that the first
Yeah.
thing, if it says guidelines and standards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
First thing they'll challenge.
you're right, because it's mixed up there.
this
Yeah,
doesn't have
you
it.
still
We should
build
list it
somewhere
as a
else.
standard.
Yeah. Just
Should we put that
guidelines. might as well
delineation,
say
should we
standard.
need that delineation for any of the other
That's
ones
what-
there?
Because
I
it
think all
goes,
the other ones have it.
Okay.
Just I'm surprised.
He's pretty.
So what we can
Yeah.
do is just do one, I'll just say one design standards and then go into the
Yeah,
okay,
same way we do in B.
yeah.
yeah, if you would do that, because that, they're gonna look at that under 3, and it says guidelines, and
Yeah.
it falls under a guideline.
It's a good catch.
Okay, that's good. Okay, now
We
65,
wanted that to be a standard because
Really?
we've emphasized that.
So 69 is, we're doing that.
so that is 69 should
It's a
will be,
standard.
and Bailey, can you just rephrase how you're gonna, where you're
So
gonna put it?
I'm gonna do the same thing that it says in B, where it says 2 design standards, and then it goes into the list. for
Okay, it
design
goes up
standards.
there,
I'm gonna
okay,
Make sure that it says that.
okay,
So it'll say 1 design standards, and then it'll sort of go into the text.
okay, good. Okay, this is page 65. Look back. This one, I wanted to bring up, you know. Let's see,
Standard now,
wait a minute.
natural.
don't
We need,
necessarily have standards,
Residential use and
design
guidelines.
Yeah, do, having a part of the front be a natural material as brick or stone or something on the front that has a little bit of natural material. That's a guideline. And I'm noticing most of the new houses don't put it on there.
But that's normally done, Ron would be very knowledgeable on this subject, is they'll have a percentage.
Right, and that's why I didn't put down any because I need you guys'
Percentage of
input.
houses or
We
percentage of
talked
the house?
about that.
Percentage of the
We talked about a
house
percentage
has
of,
natural
and I know
material.
we talked about like the basement being wrapped. No concrete being visible. We wanted the basement wrapped.
I think,
That was something we talked
Make it
about.
in there.
I think we should make windows on all 4 sides a standard instead of a guideline too.
And we had talked
No
about
blank
that.
walls. Yeah, we talked.
Well,
about
that windows instead of, windows should be placed on all 4 elevations is a
Well, we-
guideline
Did it
now.
for
That's an
Pulte.
extra benefit.
I would want to ask something about
this
this,
stuff looks good.
having
Yeah.
some kind of natural material. When I've driven around sleigh boss houses, there's some people who have decided not to do, it looks to me, any stone or brick, and I actually like the look that it has.
It's mixed, yeah. And you have the same thing with Pulte too.
Some of it's cost cutting, because I mean, with the cost of lumber and stuff like that, when you go to build these houses now, that's the easiest place to cut.
But not everybody looks at it that
Oh, I
way. I know
agree.
somebody that's building a house over there
Yeah.
and she doesn't want any stone. She doesn't want any brick. She wants I think she's doing board and batten.
Yeah,
And
yeah, the
Sherlock has
vertical
some
siding's
like
great
that.
now. That's starting to be a thing.
Or
So,
I knew how
so,
to do it.
so would that lock you in that you'd have
It's
to
been
do
a thing
this?
for a long
Uh,
time.
You can do a
Starting to come
percentage
back.
of the house,
My house.
but if you could also do a percentage of the community. Just like we did with
Oh,
Pulte, we allowed side windows in a percentage of what you built as an option.
so if somebody came along and they were at their quota, they'd have to say, you have to put some stone and whatever, because we can't do any
Yes.
without
and
that.
Concord Crossing West was done with that standard.
yes,
It
it was.
required natural materials on the front of
Mhm.
every home, but there's still some in there that doesn't have.
And that was after you didn't get all this.
Do you
requirements.
have to put something in relationship to what you just said about it's a community
Developers agreement.
uh,
It would be up
quota?
to us, but
It's hard to do
there's a
though, because
couple
if they just
houses in
decide to do
Concord
it,
Crossing as an example,
we don't look at a COA for every single house though.
they
No, we
chose
don't.
not to put any natural material on the front, but they wrapped the foundation in the brick or stone,
Okay,
and that made that.
Okay.
that covered it, yeah.
Doing the percentage thing though, is that only I mean, how do you decide that at the beginning? Because we're not looking at every single house. If I want to put a window in, it takes me 10 minutes. And it'll be up and we're not looking at every single
Well,
house.
it would just be mentioned or identified in their design plan that we would, that the design review board would approve. But then it would be up to the developer to make sure that that percentage is met.
So if we
along the way.
can do X, Y, and Z, and then we go in and catch them later, are we gonna hold up? Are we gonna make? them
It's
sign something
hard
hold
to
up their early program over?
It's,
I mean, but then you're doing it after the fact.
Yeah, I mean,
versus
we-
just
we-
in the Beginning saying.
we do that.
I
Yeah.
think it's easier to nip in the bud before.
If you give the developer the guideline, now
Yeah.
Pulte has followed it. There's 47 different builders in the east. Might only be 2 of them that didn't follow it, but that's after the enforcement. Most of them, I don't know, Ron, what do you think?
Yeah,
Most of them will abide to the rule. Because they're gonna make more money on the house if they put more on it,
Yeah,
they offer more.
yeah, more finishes is more money, yeah.
I'd be okay with making a 25 the requirement instead of just a suggestion right now. A lot of it's covered though in the HOA docs. I mean,
That's correct.
you can't get developer approval unless you have whatever they want. That's not between the village and anybody. That's between the developer and the homeowner.
But if it's in our standards, then that builder still has to do it, right? I mean,
That's what I'm saying. You put it in
And
the
you-
standards, it's a lot easier than watching each house get built.
And
Oh, yeah.
theoretically, it would be in the
Yeah.
contract
We put
between
it in standard,
HOA.
like Jim said, if they don't do it on the front, they use it on
Yeah.
the foundation.
Yeah.
Might even
For
give
this-
you a way to get back and say, look, you built the house without natural material. You can wrap the foundation and that happens.
That's what we liked, wrapping the foundation, because then you don't have concrete blocks that not that they even do that anymore. It's
Right.
court walls now.
If this document is being used in any kind of development agreement for a large area too, then this, at least, if it's not held to the T, it starts as a baseline from which conversations.
right.
So really, we could just change the wording instead of saying it should incorporate minimum, it shall incorporate 25.
That would do it.
What number is that?
C, it's page 65, the second sentence on 65.
Okay.
Well, I think you'd still want to move it under.
You see it?
No,
I don't know if, do they have a?
oh, it's
Here's-
shall,
Okay.
okay.
So it's, but where did
It's,
you
So
see?
you move it up to a standard
Yeah,
and
so
you-
I guess
and you
yeah,
change the language to
it needs
shall.
to go under, it's still under C under guidelines, so you need to,
But it also doesn't say that structures have to incorporate masonry on the front.
Yeah, we'd have to put it up in front in
I don't like using that term shall.
the standards on page 63.
yes, it needs to be moved over to the standards. Just take it out of that one or whatever you call it.
You put it.
But it still doesn't say that every home needs a minimum amount of masonry. It only says structures that do incorporate more than 50% masonry.
Yeah, we would have to
Doesn't-
word it to say that they are required to have
So you want every single home to have more than 50%
No.
masonry?
25%.
Every home to have, okay.
And that can count as the wrap basement.
And that
or
can either be stone or
Yeah.
brick or
It might be
Just-
just.
variety.
You can have finials and.
Stone on
you
like
have
the porch
lintels under
part.
the
Your
Windows.
house. When I was working with the designer for your house,
Mhm,
that's why your stone is where it's at. We followed the rule
mhm.
and we played around with it before I brought it back and forth to you and Joe. And then we.
Yeah,
And so that meant to report. And it came out beautiful.
Like.
so how are we going to work this? I'm a little confused
Structures
on
on
it.
the house
Houses that
more
don't
than
have
50%
any
of
masonry
the-
on the front that look nice.
masonry
in
on
the
the front
house.
elevation.
Yeah, I mean, you can do.
Like, I'm looking at some of these other pictures in our brochure and I'm seeing.
You just want a broken up house. We don't want a bunch of vinyl siding.
Yeah,
Houses, right?
Yeah. That's the only thing we're trying to get.
None of those Victorian ones have any stone on them.
Everywhere.
They'd have
Party
to
board you're talking about?
the foundation or apply for a variance.
Yeah, it looks better.
What do you think about
Not fun to fix.
I guess you're right.
I don't know. I don't
yeah,
know.
we
I'm looking at
have
like
to take 50% is way too much.
that old bed
What?
breakfast.
50%
There's no stone on that.
Leave it in
I know
there.
there's no stone on mine, but
It's standard,
It's not appropriate, like
25%.
that farmhouse that everybody's,
Side
it really isn't
roof,
necessary.
elevation,
On the
on
front.
If we say, well, you don't have to do it, then all the vinyl builders are just gonna be.
But if it's a new house,
all the vinyl.
right, and new houses are the only ones that really have to come before this board. And
Yeah.
like, and like you said,
We're saying
there's
we
also
do standards with
there's a variance if
55
you come with a, you want
Yeah.
to build a beautiful Victorian house with
Could be
no
on the
stone.
foundation.
I bet you're gonna be able to get it through this board, right?
Okay.
Right now, everybody's paying for every finish
What's
they
your
can get
thoughts on
because money's cheap, but if the
No,
economy.
I,
goes
yeah, I
back
agree
down
with that.
And money's expensive to get, then
So we're moving that
there's gonna
to
be a lot of siding.
B1. And it essentially becomes number 7, VII, under required and desirable materials. Is that right?
When we,
You're
okay,
changing that from 50% on the front elevation to 25%. And if they don't want to do it on the front, they can do the foundation.
We did put in there that should not have exposed block or poured foundation. It should be brought up to grade, or in this case, could be covered, but you can't. not have it exposed.
so could you just could you repeat where you're putting this?
I figure we move it up under B in the same section, which is design standards. Under.
Oh, I
number-
see.
Under number 1,
Okay,
back on page 64, under number
Okay.
1, under required and desirable materials, and then just
Mhm.
make it number 7,
okay.
VII.
Okay, we took care of page 69. And then the last one, okay, this isn't one I brought up. What your guys' input and what you thought on that. It's 75. Fencing, walls, railings visible from the street should be of high quality materials, decorative rather than utilitarian. So, well, go on and on. Why would you make that a guideline and not a standard?
Because it's,
I mean, that argument could be made for a lot of different stuff in here, though. I mean, it could all be standards.
well, should be of high quality materials, decorative rather than utilitarian. It's really sort of up to the design review, sort of like up to whoever's designing, you know. If we were to move it to a standard, I would say we would have to define the high quality materials. Define what we mean by decorative rather than utilitarian.
Okay, so would the P and Z, so somebody wants to put up a chain link fence. How do you prevent that?
You can't put it on the current code. And I don't know if there is such a thing as a high quality chain link fence.
There isn't. That's why I'm asking.
But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not allowed
They're
in our
still going
zoning
up in
code.
Leafydale, though. I mean, I had 3 requests for them last month for
Good right
chain
now.
link because people don't pay for
Right.
them. I try to steer them away from
this-
that, but
This is actually more visible from the street.
But
That's
do
what I'm
we-
thinking of.
Do we allow chain link fence or not?
Yeah, we do.
it can still go
It's
up.
the least installed fence in Johnstown.
And actually, I built a wood fence in Concord over here, and a couple of the neighbors, I mean, came out and told me I couldn't build the wooden fence and had to be chain link.
That's the old
That's the old-
standard.
That's the old deed restriction in there.
It had to be green too.
Yeah, and it has to be green.
Green chain
I was
link.
building a nice, nobody's
you
picket
build it?
fence.
No one's
Oh,
gonna,
yeah, I built it.
Yeah, you build
Yeah.
it.
Ryan, nobody's gonna stop. There's no HOA, so no
The
one's
guy
gonna
got, the
stop
guy
them.
got mad. And he's like,
There's
I'm
no
gonna talk about
HOA.
this. I said, I'll just bring Jim down.
The only green chain link fences or chain link fences, period, that are in there is when the development started, they followed the rule.
Yeah.
They put in green chain link fences. Since then, as the houses have turned over and stuff, no one wants it.
Right.
Do
And
that.
actually, some have been removed.
But there's still some going up in Leafydale.
Yeah,
Yeah,
New
Leafy
new
Dell.
ones.
my neighbor put one
There's
in
new ones
next
going up
door,
in
and it's actually
Leafydale.
the black, and it doesn't look horrible. I mean, I wouldn't want the galvanized, but it doesn't look
I
horrible,
know
and it's in
which
the
one it
back.
is.
Yeah,
And that does look pretty good.
yeah.
The popular ones, like in Concord Cross the East, is extruded aluminum
Aluminum, yeah.
tubular that looks like they're just, you put your fist in between them.
They look
Those
like
are
rod
really
arm.
popular.
They look like rod arm.
Right, that's the idea.
Okay. Well, why I was bringing this one up is I'm not so concerned about the backyards. This is visible from the street.
I don't know
So
what
it goes up right against the street. So if you're, okay, it's like if you're a brand new building, you're coming in town and you want a fence. Now, hopefully they will put up a nice fence, but it's up against the street. Okay, that's what I'm talking about, like how New Albany, if you go drive through New Albany and they have that little fence around their courtyards. Okay, or then we do have the one occasion of down on College Street where the chain link fence is right border up against the street, which looks horrible.
So I think we can do more just in the zoning on type of fence, though.
Do we have a fence?
Because when you get a fence permit, we don't look at the type of fence that's going in. You just have you have a
No,
fence.
We do.
I mean, you do, but
Yeah.
We need to change that fencing material.
the fencing in our zoning needs to get more strict anyway.
And that's
I
what
think
we need to
something-
do.
I think
No-
that's
no
something
barbed
for
wire.
zoning.
No barbed wire,
No barbed
Yeah.
wire.
no electric fences.
Is that what it is?
That's true.
Those are the 2 restrictions. No.
I think we should add chain link.
There
That's a
needs
good
to be
idea.
more restrictions, I think, especially for commercial. Because I mean, to have a fence made out of, metal siding or something like that, that needs to go.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna be.
We're not to this section yet.
Let's put that in there, your review on our
And
meeting.
some of the more expensive
That's a good
homes,
idea.
including on Buena Vista, that's what they've done. It's New Albany style. And then they put a wire on the inside of it. And it's
That's what I have.
cat-proof, But it looks nice.
That's what I have at my house. The cedar, you do like a cedar plank or,
Right.
So if we updated the code to get rid of chain link, is that something you guys are thinking too?
Yeah, and metal.
All right, because we're gonna do code during our meeting tonight. I think that's something that we all are on
I
board
would
with.
like to get rid of chain link.
All metal fencing,
chain link,
Well,
chain
but-
link for
well, or chain.
houses.
That
but
black stuff.
like the
that's
wrought
metal,
iron.
isn't it? What Jim was
Yeah.
talking about,
Yeah.
that is metal.
When I say
Wrought
metal, I'm
iron,
talking
wrought iron style looks great, especially with pools. That's
It's
what
like
you
we
want.
put around,
Well, it's the aluminum versus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 People call it a wrought
Ashbrook
iron all the
House,
time, but
just
yeah,
the
it's
one
aluminum.
No,
Yeah.
that's not a chain link fence, Carol.
That's a
No,
aluminum.
they said metal.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
we
just
know,
saying That is
We
metal.
did say, we did kick metal
Yeah,
around
metal.
too.
I said metal, comparing it to the metal like roofing.
Like on your standard junkyard, old style
Yes, that's
junkyard
what I'm
fence.
thinking of.
That's what, yeah, we don't want
That's what I'm thinking of, guys.
But on an industrial place, I wouldn't mind chain link with that black mesh or something like that. I mean,
link and.
You were complaining.
No.
yeah, chain link and light manufacturing with that mesh or the.
Yeah, I see.
Put it on the residential sections. maybe.
We did allow that.
Marijuana industrial.
No.
Yeah,
Cut me off work.
Vinyl clad.
Oh.
I know plaid chain link.
Cut me off work.
that works.
Is it against chain link fence altogether, or is it more so the chain link fence
still
extending
be
into
work.
the front yard? Do you just want to permit chain link fence not to exceed the front facade of the house, and it's in the backyard, the side of the backyard?
My Zoom keeps.
Unless it faces
There are
the, on the
deed
side of the
restrictions in
street.
my end of town that don't allow fences in the front yard.
A lot of towns
On
still can
admin
do,
IoT.
especially rolling meadows, you can still do in the front yard.
Yeah.
You can go out to the sidewalk, but it can't be higher than
I'd say
4
get
feet.
rid of them
There
everywhere.
are specific sections in here where it's front yard and side yard specific relative to permitted types, but if you did it to where anything parallel to the street frontage couldn't be, but you could have it in the backyard.
Okay, so
They're using the backyard, tell them it has to come up no farther
how do
than
we
the back,
deal with somebody who has
back side of the house,
an antique wrought
back corner of
iron
the house.
fence?
It's
in
grandfathered.
their front yard. How do we deal with that?
It's grandfathered.
Right.
Oh, they're
If-
grandfathered.
Yeah.
As soon
so
as they
if
take
you-
it down,
if we
though,
make
they
the ordinance
can't
tomorrow, but
replace
you have
it
the
with
fence
that.
today, you're in.
What
But-
happens if you sell that house and moves to another owner?
As long as the fence
They
stays
can-
up, they can keep
They
it.
can repair that fence.
What if
Okay.
the
They
fence
can't
was taken
replace.
down for the construction of the highway? It
When,
has not been put back yet.
then it can't
You
be.
think
would
of the
be
same
eminent-
fence I'm thinking?
It would get eminent domain.
Voices
She
wrought
ha-
iron fence.
Oh, I didn't know.
If, then she wouldn't be able to
It
put it
was
back up.
taken down for the construction of 62 and the new sidewalks, because it went where her side or
And they never
fence.
put it back.
It's not back up yet.
Is it going to go back?
I thought her plan was to put it back up, but she better get at it if she wants to be grandfathered.
Well, and it's part of the house. I think it should be allowed.
Well, it
Well, the other thing is
was
that
The
there
question
originally.
is too, who took it down? She didn't take it down.
Yes, she did.
Oh, she did?
She took it down because they were gonna tear it up and that's where the sidewalk was going. So she had to take it down.
Then she would need to put it back up before council passed, before 30 days after council passed it.
Get
But
to
it's
tell her.
not
Or-
chain link, is it?
No, it's
I'm just
iron.
wrought iron.
It's
It's
iron.
just
It's a
talking about chain
old
link is what I want to
antique
get rid of.
iron
Is it a
fence.
Decorative fence?
Yes,
Yeah.
It would be allowed under our current.
but
code.
you better be getting at it.
Tell her.
yeah, I think you're right. I think we should just focus on
Ornamental
chain
is-
link.
Yeah.
ornamentals Just stabbed in the.
I'm
Just chain
opposed to
link,
chain
link.
basically, because that's what looks bad, looks like a junkyard. Going up 62, the one house that's in Rolling Meadows, it's got the chain link fence in the backyard. You know what?
Technically, yeah.
That makes people look,
The real backyard.
it's the backyard, it is the backyard, but it
That
looks,
backyard face
bad.
is 62.
gives people a bad impression the minute they drive into Johnstown.
But Ron just said somebody put that kind in black next to him and you didn't think it looked that
Yeah, they're
terrible.
not horrible.
It's not terrible.
It's
but
brand new too.
if
10
you
years
look-
from now, it
yeah.
might look like crap.
If you look at it next to a
It's-
cedar fence, you're
it's-
gonna want.
It's in the backyard. You can't see it from the street necessarily.
Okay, is it just colored black or is it vinyl clad or is it?
I think it's vinyl.
Yeah, I think it's vinyl clad.
Vinyl clad one, 10, 12 years will get brittle and start breaking off and it'll be a gray and white,
Gotcha.
these Steelers colors.
So if we remove chain link fence from the allowed zone, allowed fences, does that
Okay, I would
impact
say
my dog
do
park?
away-
Do away with
I'm
chain
fine
link.
with
Chain
that.
link.
I don't think anybody will complain about chain link one.
Wood.
Yeah.
with Interior wire.
But we're talking
And I think
residential.
we're just
I'll
gonna do
fight for that dog
residential.
park.
Commercial, I
We're
think it
talking
should probably-
about residential.
Yeah,
Oh,
We're just gonna
The
do
other thing they do now
residential.
is that hog wire fence. So it's the hog wire squares and they surround it and,
And that's what'll be in the dog.
That's the dog park.
well, it might not be the style I'm talking about.
It's
but
just
yeah.
like,
Well, they have two sizes of the hog wire. They have the normal one that you're used to and one that's half that size. Divided in half. You run
I'm
a
talking
hog wire.
about like the 4-inch squares like that,
No,
like that
but
would be
there's
on a
lots of
hog
more.
pen. Yeah, people are doing that now.
we'll let Heimer put that up.
Okay, so if we're in agreement, no chain link fence.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I've got. Now it's open to, Marvin's got a couple things.
Well, actually, we don't wanna lose track of here. We'll make it a standard. And if there's a particular reason that we have someone really wants a black.
No, I thought we weren't making it a standard. We were changing it in zoning.
Yeah, we're gonna change it in zoning, yeah.
I was gonna say, they always have a right.
A variance, yeah.
That's right, you do.
I'm convinced.
It's always easier to come down than
You guys.
go up.
If you can explain to me why you think that looks good and you need
Better
it.
you than us.
That's right. We're done with these
I know, I
documents.
shouldn't laugh.
Oh,
My turn.
Okay.
Make me laugh.
On page 6. Yeah, that's the
Each turn.
page number 6, design review, district and standard. Down on number 4, 40, the design and review board, DRB, shall act as administrative authority, design review, application approval. The document further outlines the required design and review process for applications seeing these improvements and serves as the basis for funding or finding and issued by the DRB in chapter 4. Zoning administrator shall utilize the findings of the DRB and in this document, making a determination of approval with conditions or denial. Explain that to me.
The design review board is going to see all design plan and certificate of appropriateness applications. And then whatever their decision is, that's what the zoning administrator is going to enforce
After they've made.
after they've made their decision. The same way that we do certificate of appropriateness now with planning and zoning, it'll just shift to the design review board.
After they make a determination, the zoning administrator, Jim, will tell us what they say.
Yes.
That answers that question. On page 14. When you started, everybody with me?
Mhm.
On your historical village center, you come in here and start putting in building coverage, 30% residential and all these stuff. If you look at our historical village center, and you start talking about these setbacks and things,
Nothing meets code.
well, why do we want to do this? Well, it's not going to meet code down there. If a building burns down, are you going to make them set it back 20 or 30 foot to replace it?
Not,
I mean, they done that up on, there's a house up on Coshocton Street that looks hideous.
yeah.
They made them set that way back and it's completely out of line with the front of the houses. And what I'm saying here is when you get downtown and you start trying to enforce some of these restrictions downtown, if my building burns down and you tell me I'm going to have to put it back 30 foot, I'm going to put a barbed wire fence around it and let it set.
If you look at what insurance companies
You won't be able to have it change anything.
replace the building in its location. So your hands are basically.
When it's
tied.
footprint.
I mean, as far as
Well-
what we can enforce, we can't go back until the insurance company said, Marvin, I'm gonna pay this much money for your building. And then the village steps in and said, well, you can't build it where it was.
Why are we doing it then, Jim? Why are we putting the language in
It's for
here?
future.
So they're,
Future historical downtowns?
Actually, in a sense, yes,
If anything were to be built on,
built from scratch.
yeah,
yeah,
on the corner of Oregon and 62.
Yeah.
Anything were to be built in that piece of property, if there were to be a home torn down on the other side of the whole, Schellenberger interchange, if one of those falls into the downtown review district and you tear a house down and gonna put a building up there, that would fall into this.
Do you think that's gonna look good downtown? If one of the buildings or several of them burned down downtown? And you tell
If
them.
it
to
burned
take it
down,
back?
you would put it back to its original state. I think that's almost force majeure. It's an act of God type of situation.
And I think the setbacks go from 0 to 15 or 0 to,
Yeah,
setbacks in downtown are 0.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
know you guys put a lot of time and effort on this, but I think some of this The downtown area is redundant.
it kind of covers where you're at now and where you might be under certain circumstances such as what Ben's referring to. Maybe someone buys 6 houses and they want to build a small strip center there. Well, it would
No.
have to fall in a new
That
guideline.
could I mean, it could happen. It's
If
happening.
somehow it
It's
was
happening on
approved.
campus right now. They're
You could
buying
ask,
6
it doesn't
buildings
mean
right
it's
now
gonna
and just
happen.
bulldozing them.
Yeah, right. There's a good example. The short north.
Short North, it's happening right now. They buy
it's
6
definitely
buildings,
happening. Wagon
you know,
Wheelers doing the most
yeah.
of it.
yeah.
But I think it has to be in there. I think you have to have that guideline.
I disagree with you.
So the 20 to 30 feet is on the attached single family, right? Is that the only one that has the 30 or do they all have, right?
I think there's just the attached single family.
So that would be,
And it's-
what's an example of an attached single family in the historic district? Do we have any?
Yeah.
Like all the ones on North
Probably off
Main?
of Williams. There's a couple duplexes over there.
That wouldn't be a single family, right?
There's some
Williams or Oregon. Yeah. Trying to think
Right,
where
but
they're
Went
at.
off a yard.
Family, it'd be multi.
Some duplexes.
There's someone.
Yeah, but would those be
One.
counted as single family or are they multi?
Well, they're, yeah.
Multifamily.
So that's not single family. This is a single
If
family.
it's a duplex, it'd be an attached single family,
Okay, that's what attached single family means, duplex.
right?
So then do we just have,
Yes.
do we need to reword this to make it more apparent as to what it is? Because that's not how I read it.
Right.
I agree. The semantics don't match.
Which one you talking about now?
A primary street attached single family.
The section you brought up, Marvin, with the setback, that 20-foot setback only is applicable to attached single families, which we're trying to determine what exactly that means.
I think we're trying to discourage those anyway, but
Because you wouldn't, like your building under this code doesn't have a setback requirement. It would fall under the 0 to 15-foot setback.
Right to the lot line, right. at the
So,
center.
I think that the contradictions that you were anticipating or maybe thought there might be wouldn't really apply to anything on the main street there. And you see secondary streets, 0 to 20 foot. So there's a lot of leeway in there that we put in. So the only one that has this setback for the historic center is that primary street attached single family setback, which honestly, like I'm trying to get a picture in my mind what that is because I don't know.
Single family, not attached.
Maybe that's what we meant if there's a single family. That needs to be,
Commercial
I think
building?
that needs to be,
No, it's like a duplex.
Yeah,
attached To each
pretty
other.
much like what Fisher wanted to build over there. Single family attached. They're just,
Condos,
yeah, like condos. type
exterior
stuff.
entry condo,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
townhome, 2-story.
so it'd be like, okay, you want to change one of those buildings downtown and do a residential. Okay, gotcha. So then,
So with that, the question is, do you want that 20-foot setback to account for some kind of front yard, walkway, patio space, common area, or do you want it to be 0 and but right up to the lot line to the sidewalk to match the facade and the sight line of the rest of the building?
I think Marvin's right. I think
You're
you
gonna,
you change that.
what
I
you're
don't think
gonna
there needs.
do is you're gonna get some multimillionaire coming out of Columbus, deciding that one side of Main Street is crappy and he's gonna buy it. And you're gonna require him to set him back so we can look like Columbus.
Columbus is right up on the road. That's how they're doing
Not all of
everything.
them, there's pictures in here that shows it not.
Yeah. A lot of Columbus is trying to do that on the road thing, which a lot of this is we were trying to keep things off the road. Now downtown we went on the road, but a lot of this is we were trying to maintain that rural character and push stuff back. Now this might not, I don't have it in front of me, so it might be BS, but
Well, the historic downtown, if you look on the map that's on page 8 or so, it's that purple area. And the question then becomes, if you have one in that space, in that historic village center that say is setback, you want to maintain that setback. I think we also have in here in the design guidelines verbiage that calls back to continuity of the area, matching it to its aesthetic surroundings.
We tried to put that in every section as much as we could because we felt like, no matter what, like the continuity is
Right.
gonna be the most important thing.
with
So
the
do you-
downtown, we don't want a lot to change, so
So to Marvin's point, do you change this to a 0
Yeah.
to 30? And then depending on where that issue is, you call in to say, okay, well, it could be up to the line if it's in continuity with the surrounding buildings. And there's your subjective standard that you can apply to it based off of what it's next to. Or if they're set back because it's further down 62 and
Yeah.
it maybe it butts the residential office district, then you can say, okay, well, that 20-foot setback applies. It's within that 0 to 30.
Then
foot.
you're getting me confused because you're talking about 62 and all these other places, and I was talking about old downtown Johnstown.
And if you look on the map, the historic village center district
It was farther than just
expands a
that.
little bit beyond just the village.
Well, it would make it easier for the design review committee if it was 0 to 30.
Gives them a
Yeah.
range.
Gives you leeway.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah,
it's
It's like the easy way to
So
go.
make
I
it,
think it addresses Marvin's.
I think that's a good callback. Let's change it to 0 to 30
0
because
to
we can't
30.
require 20. I think you're right. And be consistent.
Just that whoever's on design, you ask to understand, you get that continuity piece in there that's going to guide a lot of that conversation.
Yeah.
0 to 30.
That was one of our major challenges on this document is trying to make standards that are also,
Flexible.
yeah.
are enforceable enough, but flexible enough.
Case by case, depending on where it is, because not
It's
every.
really, this is the trickiest part.
You're on
Applaud
page,
you for the time that you've been spending on all
Yes.
of these details.
Thinking all
I
this.
think we had a meeting almost every week.
Marvin, you got more
Sometimes
stuff?
Twice a
Yeah,
week.
sometimes twice a week. I know at least twice. We had twice.
I
a week.
got more questions I don't understand.
Ask away.
That's what we're here.
Let's get.
Okay, on page 15. When you go down there, it says summary of dimension table. Ground floor, down there, the fifth one up from the bottom. Ground floor blank wall, corner facade, maximum percentage 20%. Depth, ground floor space, 30 foot. Building width maximum 60 foot. Building depth maximum 150 foot. Primary pedestrian access, front front and the primary street. I don't understand that.
So the primary pedestrian access, front facade, primary street, that requires you to have a front door, basically. You can't have your primary entrance on the side. Ron, you want to talk about the building depths and stuff? Building depth, the 150 feet depth, right? That's pretty.
It says building width maximum 60 foot.
Again, I kind of, I guess I see where you're going with
My
that, I guess,
building's
right?
110 foot.
So doesn't, again, that's a good call. That's maybe a good call out. And I think
And my
there's probably
building's
not the
deeper-
only building down there
building's
that's.
deeper than 150. I'm not trying to be nitpicky, guys. I'm just trying to tell you what's down there.
No, and
No, I understand. It was
some of these
this-
details are obviously need a second eye on it.
Talking about, if you're talking about an existing building versus if a building.
It doesn't say that.
Where did this number come from? Was this one that came with it?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Mm.
Okay. I wanted to make sure it wasn't something we picked.
So just Marvin, for your background, a lot of the stuff was, a lot of these numbers were written into the original plan. And so it's something that's obviously something we
It
missed.
was written
So,
into the original plan, but Jess, when we pass this, it's gonna become law in this town.
no, I know, that's
We're
why.
taking everybody else's laws and just passing them because we don't have time to go through them and question it. I'm not trying to be an ass. I'm
No,
just
it's important.
questioning some of these things that I'm gonna have to live
I-
with.
I understand. I just don't know if we have buildings down there that are bigger than that, where did that 150 come from?
I'm asking you.
That's what I'm asking.
Came from Ken, what the guy Ken
Well,
that
if
made this
Kim
thing?
was, I
Kim.
mean, it came from Kim, but if we have buildings bigger than that, where did he get 150?
Well, we can fix that with historic village center, new construction.
This whole document's
wanna
on new
add-
construction.
What did you say?
This whole document's on new construction.
That's how I took it.
We
It
don't
was new stuff.
enforce, we don't pass
What's
laws
already
and then go back to people and say, this law just passed and now you have to change your building. We
Right,
don't
that's-
do that.
That's zoning too, but Marvin's saying if he burns his building down, he won't be able to put barbed wire fence around it though, because we did change that.
That doesn't
But-
stand. That's only on new construction.
If a
This
building,
building burns down, that is
Well, I
not
guess,
considered
yeah.
new construction.
tornado building,
It wouldn't be.
tear
It
down,
wouldn't be new
it
construction.
would be, it would maintain the same footprint.
But if
much
he had
like if
hundred
you're-
and forty,
Like an improvement.
if he had 140 and it burned down, he couldn't build bigger than 150.
No.
So if there was an empty
We're
lot.
sitting we're sitting there
in this area,
discussing it.
There's
Where
not.
Does it say in here?
If there wa- let's say somebody took one of the houses.
We
from the
don't-
fire station,
We don't
tore it
enforce
down, they wanted
laws
to
on
build
buildings that are already
something like
existing.
that. These would be the requirements, right?
We don't
Which that's
say
a
that
very real
anywhere in,
possibility,
in
'cause they don't really work
zoning.
for Housing anymore. I mean, they're the one's a title agency, you got an insurance agency down there.
The whole idea of the document is if I want to come into Johnstown, I want to build something, we say, here it is, follow the guidelines. But if you're a property. owner,
Standards.
We're all essentially property owners in this room. We're not going back and say, oh, you gotta change, you gotta bring it up to code. Even if it burns down, you're gonna rebuild it the same ugly footprint that it exists.
For example, we're changing fencing to say no chain link fences, but we're not gonna write in there, existing chain link fences don't count. That's just, that
Right.
just,
Sunset clause and that gets hairy legally, whether or not that's. even-
and it's just.
Sunset clauses in general, yeah.
The 150, if you got any bigger than that, it would be like, now you're a strip mall. Maybe.
Which is probably why Kim put.
When
that
we
number.
were working on the historic village center, what we were working on is infill lots.
Correct.
He didn't probably want to try to prevent like a big box store.
Because those
from coming in,
existing
did he?
buildings are already there. We're not.
Or an improvement on something down in that space. So if you have a building, Ryan, you may have said that if you have a building that's a depth of 150 feet now in the village center, the historic village center, according to this, you couldn't necessarily improve it another 10
Yeah.
feet.
Okay,
because it would
so,
be out of
so let me ask you, I'll be devil's advocate here. So there's empty land across from the town hall. And, you know,
No.
it might have been sold. It's gonna probably be sold sometime. Does that
been
mean
sold.
you can only have 150-foot building there? Or
Yes.
two of them?
We're not gonna let them build anything there.
Okay.
But yes, this would, for a new build in that lot.
If you wanted more, you'd have to put two in possibly, two 150s.
That lot would be subject to this.
Yes,
Right.
that's an example.
Yes, that's a
What
good example.
Bailey's talking about,
100%.
new stuff.
And
'Cause
really,
it would be in the historic district.
to
correct?
Ben's point, there's only a few lots in our historic district that are undeveloped that this whole provision would apply to.
And to that end, if the buildings that are down there are currently larger than what this is, then that protects that space as it stands right now.
What else, Marvin?
Nothing.
I think that you're okay. Nothing's gonna happen to you, to your situation. This is just,
Cheryl, it's all for new buildings, okay?
yes,
We're saying that now, but it doesn't say it in the document. When you get a bunch of attorneys involved and you start lawing back and forth, it's gonna cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to do anything downtown if I lose my building.
I don't know why you'd write, Martha, why would you write design review? 90-some pages here, a document for existing buildings. Why would you do that?
Teresa.
Well, you would because if they want to fix them or add to them or remodel them,
Enhance it.
it falls under this. Yeah,
Right.
enhancement, it falls under this.
But if you're gonna build new, that's what the design review.
Right.
Is your guideline or your standard.
Right.
Teresa never gets to talk. I want to
I
hear
just
from
have-
her.
The only reason I want to talk is because actually it was not too long ago, I had an insurance person call. I think we talked about it.
Yeah, I get those calls.
And they asked, okay, what happens if this building burns
Standard
down?
question.
So is that in our zoning code now?
Those are always
Guidelines for
appraisers that
replacement?
call. Those are always appraisers. They're appraising property that's in a transaction of a real estate sale. And they have to ask that question and answer it in writing that that building is allowed to be rebuilt within 1 year.
So where does
Or
it
2
say
years.
that? I guess, like, what if Marvin, what?
It
if
would
that
be in the
happened? What-
existing footprint.
Where does it say
They
how
would-
he can rebuild it?
They would have 1 year. We have some language in our ordinance.
That's what I was
Yeah,
asking.
I
Is
wish I
there?
had my computer, 'cause I don't- Jim Leonard showed it to me a long time ago.
Is there a key word that might help jog your memory?
Yeah, because I was trying to search it and I can't find anything. I was-
There is something in our zoning though that says what happens if a building burns down or is demolished or.
It's under replacement, I believe.
Because eventually one of those buildings down, I've been inside of some of those buildings down there. Eventually one of them's gonna get demolished just because it aged.
What?
And some of them have been already. I mean, the horseshoe pretty much was, it sounded like. They'll tear them down from the inside and rebuild them, but.
I was here, I was asked that question. I had no idea. And I remember asking.
Couldn't we just, on page 14 where it says building placement, just change that to say new building placement? And that would cover all of the setbacks and the
Yeah.
But Jim says that you have to replace it in a year, but when the house burned down on Doc Young's old house, when that burned down, it took almost 3 years to get that replaced.
one?
didn't it? The one that Almondinger's replaced.
Next
Little
to
gray
beside
one.
the pizza place.
the pizza
It was
place.
it was under construction and permitted within.
So to Marvin's
Why did
point,
it take so long to build it if it was under
That
construction?
was their contract.
so to Marvin's point, it sounds like there's a lot of caveats here. Do we want to clarify even in the introduction section that, you know, this plan applies to new construction or enhancement projects?
Well, both, because I mean, yeah, if something happens.
That's
to one
what-
of the existing
It's
buildings
and, it's not
downtown.
or.
Yeah, but we could easily, my point is we could easily add it, and I think it may be, it is a little unclear because it seems like everybody had a little bit of unclarity about what this use of this document is. So
Straightened out with attorneys.
would that, do you think that would be suffice enough just to put a sentence like that in the introduction?
Anywhere in here, new bill.
No, but we could put that in the introduction is what I'm proposing, a sentence in the introduction saying this
Under-
applies.
Corridor, urban neighborhood 2. Also, those columns, or are you just talking about historic district?
No, all
Everything.
all the,
All of them.
all the
Okay.
sections would only, you only have to come before this board and this document if you have a new build or you're doing a significant redesign of a current property.
Being
Not
selfish,
next door.
Carol, because I have a vested
Well,
interest in it.
But I
No, but
think
that's,
that-
we're thinking about those buildings.
And you represent, there's other people out there that are gonna have the same thoughts as you, so that's a good point. And I think it would be a good idea to put a sentence in the introduction for that, to
And it-
specify
it's
that.
like, you guys made the comment that you worked on this for a long time, and I appreciate all the work you put on it. And I didn't come to all your meetings because I trusted you guys to do it. I'm not distrusting you here, I'm just bringing up questions.
No,
Absolutely.
Well, and I
We
think
appreciate
we
it.
solved it. If we can put new build, Bailey, or whatever,
Enhancements.
for the whole section, then we're golden.
put it in the intro for the whole document.
You're gonna see remodeling and.
restoration or
under this.
whatever.
Yeah, restoration.
You got that,
remodel,
Bailey?
repurposed
Okay.
buildings, you're gonna see more of that than you're gonna see.
So that's why you have minor and.
We
major
appreciate your comments,
COA
Marvin. Let's keep going through them. So, because I think those have been two good points so
I
far.
got one last one.
Okay.
And it's on page 54, supplemental design and standard guidelines. General intent. The last sentence in there said standard and guidelines do not mandate a particular architectural style or building material. Standards and guidelines do. I don't understand.
Say this where it is again, because you started reading
Page
it.
54.
Standard
I got the
guidelines
page.
do, and then
and
that goes
general-
to A through E underneath. So page
No, I'm just
54,
I'm talking
1.
about
Oh,
the
so
first,
the wording needs to be
the
correct.
wording in the last sentence.
The typo.
Of number 1,
Standards and
E.
guidelines do not mandate a particular
Standards.
architectural
Got it.
style or building material. Standards and guidelines do.
First word should be guidelines, the second word should be standards.
I'm
Guidelines do
trying to
not
act like Louis
mandate,
Maine, but hope you're on there, Louis.
Following
guidelines
that,
do not,
Bailey.
standards do.
Bailey, the paragraph.
It says standards and guidelines do not mandate a particular architectural style or building material. We're saying that we're not mandating that they have to build in a certain style.
But then it says the second
says-
sentence is
it
standards and
says-
guidelines do. So it's saying it doesn't, but it. does.
Either it does or it doesn't.
They do, and then you list A
List
through
A
E.
through E.
So you're outlining what they do in A
Oh.
through E.
Their architectural style.
Yeah,
all right.
they
Yeah.
do
That's what you're
mandate
doing
A
there.
through E.
So maybe we add in standards and guidelines do the following.
She's explaining it like I wanted to hear it. I didn't understand it and I wanted those clarifications. Bailey's
Okay.
doing it. I'm listening to her.
So it's just saying that standards and guidelines don't mandate a particular architectural style. So like, it doesn't mandate that everybody has to build in the Gothic style, but they do mandate A through E. the list A through E.
Yeah.
Okay.
That explains it. Thanks for
Okay.
clarifying.
Mhm.
Good. Now we know.
You think though we can add in maybe
Mandates.
what they do the following? Just
Standards and guidelines do mandate.
so standards and guidelines do not mandate a particular architecture style or building material, comma, but they do the following,
A through E.
semicolon, colon, semicolon. Two dots, semicolon, colon.
Mhm.
And then list A through, I think that clears it up because I was confused. Marvin brought up, that's a good call out. I was confused.
The room was split. So
Clearly.
So we're a reasonable group of people. So yeah, I think we need that.
Yeah, that makes sense. This is a little confusing.
Marvin and Cheryl did their.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hey, what about your,
Or the colors,
no, your side load?
the what?
Side, our
Garage.
discussion the
Oh.
other
Side load
day.
garages.
We had a.
Oh,
side
yeah,
load
I forgot
discussion.
about that. I thought,
50%.
I don't even know where it is in here now.
We talked 20 minutes at least on that.
Yeah.
Remember?
Well, what,
required set-
what'd you come up with?
Yeah, so we talked. And it mostly, we talked about like your street a lot, I think, over there because some houses. Front load kind of works over
The
there.
whole street during the late fifties, sixties,
Where they had
they were all front load
Yeah,
in Johns, pretty much. I can't think of any houses built in our era that were side load. Yeah, it just wasn't the style at the time.
Main Street, North Main Street, my parents' house. My mother made sure it was a
Well,
side load.
My house is side
That's
load
true.
too.
It was a
Thank you,
side-
Marvin.
and Marvin's.
He's in my old house.
Yeah, that house is a side load.
Well, that makes one.
I was,
That's-
yeah, first of all, I don't remember where,
but if I had.
Where
one,
it's
I
in
could
here.
only do front load because.
Yeah, I know. That's.
Page 69, Cheryl,
I would, yeah.
Don't know.
I could-
Sure.
60 what?
69,
69.
garages specifically.
Now, if you want to really back up the cost of development and lots.
Here it is.
Cheryl's
require
house
a lot
is
of side load garages.
No, it's not.
That
No, not you,
requires a
Cheryl.
Much wider walk.
We're here. Oh,
A better driver.
Pardon me?
Been a better driver.
Yeah.
You bet.
Which is it definitely
Grandma's
is a very costly thing for a developer. Ron could probably expand on that a little bit too.
I mean,
You
it's-
need that 30-foot swing to get in there properly.
That's why
But that would also
ours is
bring
only
up the
there.
quality of the
It takes a wider
houses.
lot and
Great.
takes a narrower house.
That's a narrow.
Well, I think we're saying what, 25% of garages are required to be.
They can do a back load.
I think the other thing we said is that on corner lots, they have to be side loaded.
I was thinking of the side, yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. In a development, not everyone would have to be a side load, but the ones like on the corners, that would be a bigger lot, make a difference in the style of the house.
Or a standard.
That's what I was
Just
thinking.
make Sure that we listed it as a standard.
Okay.
I'm not,
We were talking
not
I think we said the,
sympathetic to the builders that's coming in. It is what it is in Johnstown. Holte out there is building everything front load.
We hope
Holte
it's-
hasn't been the most pleasant person to work with, people to work with in the village. And I'm not concerned about the developers coming in. I'm concerned what this village is gonna look like and what we end up with an end up product.
I think we put something in there too that said the garage door had to be behind the front door too.
Yeah.
So right now, we have we changed it to 25% of the development has to be side loaded. And that's a standard, 25%.
Where does that, Jesse, where would that be in here?
Page 69 under C.
See
That's what we talked about.
Moved it up.
We needed to make sure it was listed as a standard.
That whole paragraph, C.
No,
Well,
look
it's
at
under
I.
1I, a minimum of 25% of the garages in any given subdivision, phase, but not even the whole subdivision, in any given subdivision phase should be side loaded or rear loaded.
Okay, Carol, how wide is your lot?
Huh. Well, it is 70 feet.
All right, you got a side load garage.
She does.
Very hard to
Well,
get.
I
that out.
wasn't gonna change what my mom said. We should always have side garages.
Well, I'm
So
saying,
my
what I'm-
sister and I put those
what I'm
in.
saying
It's
is,
very difficult.
It's
And
not,
your sister's is worse. Hers is narrower than yours.
no, it's wider because she had a wider lot.
I knew
She
one of
got,
them was different.
she got the vacated land from the road that went through there. So her side is like 80 some. or 78 or something.
The width of her-
Because I had to borrow 4 feet from her
Yeah,
to make it 70. instead of the 66 that was put in there many, many, many years ago. And then some people like you said it had to be 70 feet wide.
You bad people.
I was thinking you were there.
I was the only one on board. And I
Where-
excuse myself.
Really?
I designed your house.
No, you did. And you said, and you did the side.
Huh?
I was at
I
the
have to figure out where,
Multi and your lots are
on-
all
it's
older
page
existing lots.
69.
yes, but where are you moving it to?
Oh, no, we're not moving it. We're just making sure, this was what you brought up on page 16,
Yes.
that it needs to be made sure that it says design standard.
Right.
So we're not moving it. We're just making sure it says design standard.
Okay, so, but you would have to move it above to what? Underneath B and it becomes C then?
No, so what we
No,
did
it
on that
would
one, it
say-
was, we mislabeled, well, there wasn't a heading in that section identifying it, that we intended that to be a standard from the beginning.
So
See,
number C, garage location designs should be a standard then.
yep.
Yeah, so what I'm gonna do is,
Okay.
just like in B where it says two design standards and then underneath it goes into the text. That's what I'm gonna do in C. I'm gonna say C, garage location and design, and then 1 is going to say design standards.
Okay,
Says a minimum of 25% of garages in any subdivision shall be side loaded or rear loaded.
In any subdivision phase. So
So there'll be more than
so
25%.
if there are
in the
3
whole
phases,
neighborhood.
every 20,
It's
25%
just that
each
phase gets
phase.
25 and then 25 the next phase.
So the
There'll
one
be
thing,
more than
what if-
25%.
we didn't ever put
So-
anything about front porches.
just
in
so
here.
I make sure we're okay.
Fires, front porches.
No, right before it, it's number 3 says design guidelines and that falls underneath the design guidelines.
This week when I-
So you are moving this,
no, this is a new letter. So number 3 is for B.
number
And then there's C, the garage location and design.
So under building entries and accesses, it has.
Okay.
access,
That's hard to
vehicle,
understand, that
location,
part.
building.
I would say something about that, this is design standard or something, so it pops up more.
That's what we're doing under
I think
garage
that's what you're
location.
gonna add,
design.
yeah.
ER,
It'll
She's
be,
gonna
it'll say garage
gonna-
location design, and then it'll see standard, and then it'll list what we have there.
okay, because that is confusing and somebody could argue that, so,
That was
like
good.
I am right
No,
now.
that was a good call out because we didn't delineate it like we did in the other
Yeah.
sections in that section, which
Yeah.
we didn't realize that till you brought it up.
Okay.
So we are going to add that
All
heading on
right,
there.
good.
Standard and a guideline this one.
Aren't you just so happy we're meeting with you?
That's all I have.
No, we did want this. I said this at the beginning. We wanted this at the beginning.
And this is like, we taken this a long way and it's it's obviously not even going to be a finished document when it's
Once you immerse yourself in a document.
The more-
for 6 months.
the more eyes, the
it's
better.
nice To get an objective view.
Better you
Yeah.
than us.
Zoning code.
Yeah, we're still immersed in the zoning code. We gotta talk about that next.
Or better Bailey.
It'll all be fresh and ready for these developers to run. it.
Bailey, you okay?
Yeah, that's good.
Bailey's done a lot of work on this too. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
Send me a
I know.
copy of that.
I said you copy it to you all. Yes, you did. Sorry
I
about
know
that.
we're going through this process most of the time, almost all the time. Kim was online with us.
Yeah. Ken was at all our meetings.
Yeah, Kim was, 9:30 at night. He was on.
Now, who is
Driving
Kim?
to Colorado.
This is from the.
Yeah, driving to Colorado.
He's a Contractor.
He's a professional that he.
Consultant.
What was the- who's Tim?
Tim Littleton works for OHM. They're the design firm that we contracted to
Okay.
help us with this.
Okay, so he was very helpful then.
Yeah, I mean, it was like
So we got the money's worth out of them?
9:30 at night. He was driving to Colorado and he was on with us.
Oh, okay.
So we got our
Good.
money's worth out of him.
Good.
Love Zoom.
There's some audio back and forth, but I think he literally made every
We've
change.
gotten our money's worth out of you guys.
You want to?
Yeah, yeah, we sure did.
Adjourn this one and start the next one.
You got a
If
meeting.
you guys are ready, we'll make a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No.
We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes,
For
thank
the
you.
time.